The Wild West meets the 3D printed era. Let's go. Greetings audience, I'm Boomstick, and today we're going to be talking about Captain Slug's FLAK. The FLAK is a band-powered, lever-action, 3D printed blaster that utilizes the aluminum U channels that you've seen on like the Caliburn U, the Spring Thunder U, and all the things like that. The FLAK has many configurations, but I'll be talking about the short dart, missile, and ballistic ball attachments. Each configuration is powered by this plunger tube with multiple bands on it. I'm using 4 for maximum performance, however you can adjust the FPS by removing bands as you go. You prime the blaster by ratcheting forward with the lever right here. As you do that, it pulls back on the plunger, locking it in the rear position. Then you pull the lever arm back, and for the short darts, that's what chambers the next dart as you go. I printed and assembled this blaster myself. It is utilizing the Vanguard pusher to make it easier, so that way you don't have to prime the blaster to get your mag in and out. It's just a simple matter of put it in, take it out. Simple like that. I will say for me personally that I tend to have issues whenever assembling the band-powered blasters just because I find that they give me trouble. This one wasn't too difficult except for the band that links the trigger and the sear. Apparently the knot that I tied wasn't big enough or tight enough, so it ended up loosening. So be aware when you're tying all your knots for your trigger and your sear that it's holding in the position that you need it. I ended up running into a little bit of trouble also with the priming of the blaster. When I was first assembling it, I had to put lubricant all along this 3D printed part because as I was priming back, it was forcing the 3D parts together and it wasn't smooth enough to where it would just slide freely back, which could be a fault of my printing, I guess. But if you're having trouble with priming it back or it seizing up on you, I would highly recommend just adding a little bit of white lithium grease or something like that, which isn't too bad for me since I have a white blaster, but you might want to use something clear, I guess, if you're going to go that route. I did find it interesting that pretty much everything here is string powered. There are no metal springs that go along with it, which can be a good and a bad. I understand the principle, however, I do find myself preferring metal springs as opposed to having to tie my own knots and everything, get everything to be perfect, which is part of the issue I have with the sear and trigger. It's not what I would call a design flaw, just a personal choice by myself of preferring metal springs over elastic tension. Other than that, I didn't have any problems, and I do find the firing of the system to be fairly easy. However, it did take a little getting used to with the whole lever action, and I will say that this is not comfortable. Priming forward on my fingers, it really digs in, so I highly recommend either wearing gloves or maybe wrapping this in paracord or something. I've actually seen at least one person do that, and I might consider learning how to tie paracord myself just to do that. I did also wrap my aluminum rails. It's gonna take me some practice to get better at it. It's not bad for a first try, but definitely could be better. But it's something you'll probably be seeing more from me is anytime I have a blaster with a U channel, I'll probably be wrapping it just because I think it looks better than the bare aluminum. I think that's enough blabbering. Let's take that to the range and see how all 3 of these ammo tests perform. I will say for any wars that have 150 FPS cap, this will probably be my new primary, just because I find it a lot of fun to use and it's fairly accurate with a scar barrel on it. I can get some nice 50-foot ranges on flat shots and probably even longer if I tried arcing it. Now the Demolisher rockets I was a little disappointed with. In order to be effective with this, you'd have to be at least within about 20 feet, maybe less with these shots. And I do find that it's also going to depend on your Demolisher rocket, as it is a bit of a tight fit. But I think if you want to get optimized performance, you would want to leave your Demolisher rockets on the post overnight to kind of stretch out the inside so it's not as quite of a tight fit. Because as I was firing, I noticed it was getting better and better with each shot just from repeated use. What I was happily surprised with was ballistic balls. This was fun and practical with at least 25-30 feet. I was surprised, and if I can get my hands on more of these, I'll definitely be using this as a secondary. The one thing that this blaster does not do well, I found, is deprime. Now you could potentially take the bands off and do it that way, but then you got to put all the bands right back on, and that can be a pain. Trying to deprime it using the lever system here, I've actually hurt myself doing it this way and trying to bring the lever back slowly. It's just not a good angle. The best way I found to deprime it is to just put a dart down the front end of the barrel and do it that way. Now, as far as how I would run this blaster, as I've already said, a game's worth 150 FPS cap, I'll be using it as a primary. However, in game types with 200 or above, I probably won't use the half dart version just because it can only hit right around that 150. So it's a bit bulky to be using as that kind of secondary, especially with how long it is. However, with the ballistic ball and possibly the Demolisher rockets, it cuts off right about here. So while yes, it is a bit long, if you carry this in a scabbard on your back, that could actually be extremely useful as a shield buster or something to take out melee users if you can't have special rules about melee users. Now, scabbard rig might give you trouble with the rockets just because these fins come off really easily. The ballistic balls, however, I will probably be running this as a shield buster because this was way more fun than I was expecting. Changing between configurations was actually fairly simple. It's only about 6 screws from what I counted, and this entire front piece you can pretty much slide off all together. 2 screws in there, 2 on the lever right here. So in between rounds, you could probably easily change this out for something else that you want to try, as long as you don't lose the small screws that it comes with. I am very happy with how this came out, and you'll definitely be seeing gameplay footage of this blaster. If you have thoughts about Captain Slug's FLAK, leave them down in the comments. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like, and if you'd like to see more, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I'll see you all next time. I've been Boomstick, and I'm out.